Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Jacob Worden, and this is 310 Wicked Problems with special guest appearances from Adam, Leslie, and Max. And the first guest on the show today is Adam. Take it over, Adam.
Hey, thanks, Jacob, for having me on the show. All right, so one of the most important parts of space travel is the health of the astronauts, right? And one of the main aspects that you don't have in space that you have on Earth is gravity. So when you're walking around on Earth and you're lifting weights, you're running, you're doing everything you do normally on an everyday basis, gravity is always pushing you back and always adding just that little bit of resistance that you just never feel because you're just used to it. Right?
Keeps us strong, huh?
Exactly.
Okay.
Exactly. But when you're in space, there is no gravity anymore. So there's nothing to resist you as you do your everyday tasks.
Nothing to pull me down.
Nothing to push against, right? So in space, you lose so much muscle and so much bone density because the gravity keeps it at a certain level because your body has to survive.
I didn't even think about that in space.
No. So, the NASA's obviously they've made machines to try to counteract this, right? One of them being the Advanced Resistive Exercise Device, right? Which is kind of like a weight rack that you would see in an everyday gym, except there's no weights. It just uses pressure instead because weights obviously don't work because there's no gravity to pull them into the
So
Earth.
it mechanically pushes against you to simulate gravity, something like that?
Exactly, exactly. And there's another machine called the SEVIS, which is a cycle ergometer with vibration, isolation, and stabilization system, right? And that's a big, long name for just basically a little cycle device, a cycle machine, right? And what NASA has used that for is to determine how much muscle density you lose when you're in space. And it's come out to be about 17%. And only a 6-month mission, which is
6 months, 17%.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, that's quite a lot.
Exactly.
Wow, that's really insightful. Thank you so much, Adam.
Yeah, thank you.
And the next guest on our show is Leslie. Take it over, Leslie.
Hi, thank you for having me. So today I wanted to talk about the hostile environments and astronaut faces in space. So, when we think about hostile environments, we know how to really deal with them on Earth here. So when you're stressed or there's something very hectic going on, you get to take the time to walk away and really evaluate the situation, A lot of people now know how to handle a day-to-day stress in their work and personal life, so we have the steps and procedures down for here on Earth and the scenarios that we deal with stress.
Is it different on the space station?
Oh, definitely. I would say so because while you're in space, you really have to think about astronauts are waking up and going to sleep while doing their jobs, right? It's their 9 to 5, but it's 24 hours.
Oh, they live where they work.
Exactly.
Oh, I understand.
So everywhere where they sleep, where they go to work, the people they see are all involved, like their coworkers are all involved with their work. So there's really no time or a way to walk away and really just enjoy your own personal time. And that could really just cause even more stress and just cause a hostile environment with the astronauts up in space together or having to do with their job, if there's some obstacles in space they have to deal with.
Oh, so there's no relaxing on the beach or walking in the woods in space?
Oh, we wish, but no. So, all this hostile environments can cause a lot of stress in a person, and if it's stress just 24/7 and there's no way for someone to really calm themselves down, that can affect a person's circadian rhythm. And, circadian rhythm is like the lack of sleep. So it's really hard to put yourself at a place of peace when you're just living in your work.
Or isn't
right?
that day-night cycle?
Right. And then when
so
you're
they
in
don't
space,
really have the
right?
sun. Yeah,
exactly. So
nothing.
that's just another aspect that really affects somebody's stress and creates a hostile environment in space. And so people are just having the conversation about, how can an astronaut deal with their stress in space? So there's just the talks about people being able to bring up their own personal items, but the lack of space in a spaceship,
lack of room in the spaceship,
right? Exactly. You don't exactly have your own designated whole entire area in a spaceship. It's your work. So it's just things like that. It's just a very weird aspect while being in space.
Wow, very cool. Thank you so much, Leslie. And the next guest on our podcast, the final guest on the show, is Max. Take it away, Max.
Thank you, Jacob, for having me on. So one thing to consider about space travel that not a lot of people take into consideration would be radiation. During Project Mercury in 1963, NASA recorded large amounts of radiation damage to the outside of the spacecraft once they returned back to the Earth's atmosphere.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
Yeah. It was later studied and found that there are 2 large donut-shaped belts around the Earth, the Van Allen belts, containing high amounts of radiation.
I can't eat these donuts.
You shouldn't eat these donuts because they can contain up to 25 sieverts, according to the U.S. Regulatory Nuclear Commission.
What is a sievert?
A sievert is a way of measuring radiation, and it is traditionally found that humans, or we only experience 6.2 millisieverts a year, which is a thousandth of a sievert. A millisievert is a thousandth of a sievert. And those belts having 25 sieverts will pretty much kill you instantly.
Oh, wow. So will I grow a third arm?
No.
When I get experience with 25 sieverts, or?
No, it will be pretty much over for you right away.
Wow. So we experience very little amount of radiation on Earth.
Yeah, so we experience almost none compared to what astronauts would be experiencing trying to leave Earth's atmosphere. So NASA is working towards finding materials that would prevent astronauts from receiving so much radiation. And one thing that they have found is hydrogen-rich materials like polyethylene, which is plastic, is actually able to keep out most radiation. And because of that, they have lined the sleeping capsules that astronauts sleep in on the ISS with thick plastic boards of HDPE or polyethylene.
Wow. So just when the space station orbits the Earth, does it go inside of these radiation donuts?
No, they're slightly it's slightly inside of the Earth's atmosphere, so they're not quite there yet, but it's not a solid ring, so there's still radiation that they are exposed to, but not in the most high concentrated areas.
More radiation than we experience down here.
Oh, for sure. They can receive up to 100 millisieverts, which is borderline not okay.
It's too much.
It's too much.
Wow. Thank you so much.
Yes, thank you very much.
And that concludes our show for today. Thank you for tuning in, and make sure to listen to our next episode of 310 Wicked Problems. Thank you.